very brilliant legal minds to talk about these people whose expertise are even more concentrated in the content and intellectual property laws. I would begin by calling Rita Oruche, please. She's a business lawyer. And then Praise Ayoha, entertainment lawyer. And Amanda Ozuagba, entertainment and creative attorney. If you guys follow Lagos Comic Con or were at Lagos Comic Con, you will know that we had something like this. We had a session like this. Just take care. We had a session like this, very brilliant session also, and they said one good turn, this house another, and then when we knew we were doing RENDACON, we were like, the first thing we are going to just put on this list is this intellectual property, because on that day, a lot were left on. Like everybody had questions. After I finished that panel, people were just all over the place. I said, that thing you said, and that one you said. You guys, so that is why we're here again. Let's have this conversation once more. And the beautiful thing is that we're being recorded, so people can always watch these on our YouTube page and get to digest this conversation. And then people so that next time someone calls me and say, hey, that thing that lawyer said in that, I'll tell him, go to our YouTube page and do an apology. Yeah, so let's get down to business. In the case of
let's just say someone's the music, right? So you have to take permission for all these things. Don't just say just 1 second now. Just that 1 second can cost you a hundred. So those are things you should do.
So for what you said, I want to follow up.
Sorry to add to what she said. I know I kind of focused on copyright for now, but what you need to understand that creative industry and intellectual property is beyond copyright. There's still trademark, there's still other aspects of intellectual property. So while creating content or making whatever you're making, the animation, you also need to consider if you're going to pass off any other person's registered trademark. Yeah. It's also necessary.
But that sounds like a lot of work, because I'm creating something, and do I need to go and start cleaning and making sure, oh, this is my idea, that it's not something someone else has done before. Okay, I'm creating this character addresses this particular way, and I'm asking myself, has anybody ever created a character that addresses this way? If I finish creating it now, won't someone come out and say, oh, 2 years ago I created another character that's just like yours? Are there provisions to cover for that, if you get me?
The Copyright Act does that to an extent, but also it depends on how proficient the person that created all that work is towards protecting their intellectual property.
I see.
Do you get? And I'm circling back a little bit to what I was saying about trademark. I know it could be a lot of work when you're creating your content, to be very careful along the way, but there's something that is fact. If you're copying someone's work, you would know.
Yeah, of course.
That is it. If you're stealing one thing, if you're stealing two things, you will know. You know when, oh, I'm just going to tweak a little bit from what this person did. Now it's not left to you to ensure that that thing you're tweaking, when another person watches it or looks at it, it seems original to you.
Yeah.
And it's not obvious that you copied it from that person. Do you get?
Yeah.
And also when you're done making the work, producing the work, it's an animation. It's an animation movie. When you're done producing it, have a lawyer, have someone that is well equipped or has knowledge of trademark to go through it. Wow. Sometimes it might not be something that you see, or probably you mention a particular brand or you mention a particular trademark that is quite popular. Let's not talk about the ones that people really know, but that is quite popular. So at least you can clear them. So that's if you can't use it, but you need to take permission before you use them. Okay. But about having any law that protects it, the Copyright Act protects it. The copyright NCC will not start looking for you to tell you, oh, this work resembles this other person's work. It's not left to the person that created that other work
to show up and say,
okay, yes, you did something.
Please, let me have you I call this one for us. Some similar to what she just said. So we're looking at creators creating something and being too careful not to be infringing on another person's copyright or intellectual property. And that brings me to the question of folklores. So, in Africa, if you look at a lot of animation content that are going out there, comic content and all that, we like telling our stories, our folklore. So let's say I'm an animation creator, and I'm creating an Amadioha story. Now, Amadioha is common to everybody. Our folklore tells us that Amadioha looks like this, Amadioha talks like this, Amadioha has this kind of air, whether it's dreadlocks or whatever. Now, in me creating this Amadioha character, am I violating any copyright law or any intellectual property? Yeah, I think we have.
Where you are is the Copyright Act actually provides for section, that's one of the Copyright Acts provides for it. And we are not allowed to make like a public performance or distribute it publicly or make use of it in a commercial way. Because one thing about folklore is that it's covered under something called like you call the bird rights. Because we cannot really pinpoint who owns Amadioha, like the story. Then you can the power to now give you permission to use it belongs with the NCC. So if you want to use a folklore any like their performance or you have to get permission from the NCC. Without that, you can't make use of it. You're infringing our rights.
To be honest with you, I think this would be strange news to a lot of because I know a lot of Amadioha things out there, and well, this would be a shocker.
And again, the context in which you use it needs to fall under within that cultural bit of story. So you can't take Amadioha to put inside a secular 21st century something. It needs to communicate that story of the cultural whole story behind it.
So I can't tweak the story so that nobody will now know it's Amadioha, but I know it's Amadioha.
It has to be in that cultural sense. It has to
be that.
You cannot start using Amadioha in a gospel.
You have to stand for what
That
is
is not
known
what
for.
they're trying to protect, right?
So you don't have to dilute Amadioha.
Or you can use it for educational purposes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, see, let's just put you out of your misery. It seems like it seems like you wanted to use it.
No, see,
I think this whole copyright protection discussion exactly is more like, oh my god, should I keep creating content?
I'm feeling this way.
There's still something called fair use and fair dealing, which gives you this time exception in which you could use all those existing rights, all those protected rights without infringing, but you need to also give credit to the person. Do you get? So there are few, like I said, there are few circumstances that fall under that. Like she said, if it's within educational purposes, then you can tell the Amadioha story without taking permission from NCC. Do you get? If it's for personal opinions, maybe they're showing one cultural something about Amadioha and you give it out there, you can do that.
Go film. Go movie for cinema. What's the other one? Shogo is one that holds, Obatala. No, I'm saying this because in the past 4 to 5 years in the African animation scene, we've seen movies, short films, comics based on these characters, on Shango, based on Amadioha, based on name them. And I remember having a conversation with someone about African folklore and storytelling, modern storytelling, and she was like, "Oh, we need to make them popular again." we need to tell more stories about them. Just the way the Greek legends became as what they are today. That everybody in the world, if you say a Thor movie, everybody's like, hey, let me go watch. Now that we need to keep telling our own Shango stories, our own Amadeo stories all over the place. But now, what you guys are telling me is that
the only thing that you have to tell him the originality. Can't see how Thor is. They not turn Thor into a weakling. They still maintain the fact that he's a god, even while putting it in modern storyline. So if you're going to do that to Amadeo, protect the originality and the exactly.
But if you, as long as you protect it, it's fire down. Take it.
Yeah, take permission from NCC.
Okay, take permission from NCC.
Yeah.
At least you're sure that
Yeah.
you have already.
Quite interesting because now a lot of people will start going to NCC office. I know a lot of people will visit NCC office after this conversation. People will have like 3 different Amadeo stories. Okay, if I have, I'm going to ask you that question. If I have a reason to believe that someone has stolen my intellectual property, maybe I'm reading, I'm watching a film that just released this year, and maybe I released mine 2 years ago, maybe mine is just a short film, and when I understand or not, and I'm seeing, it just started and I'm seeing traces of my stuff in it, references to my stuff, and I'm like, this guy stole my idea. What are the step-by-step things I need to do to, where do I start from?
Okay, first of all, handling a matter like that, right? So when you look at the books and the sections, they'll give you criminal, civil, they'll tell you to go through and so on, they'll tell you, list them out. But nothing trumps getting a lawyer and speaking to a lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay, because you might think those remedies, okay, let me apply for this. You can't do all those things on your own. And going into it right now is just a lot of technicalities,
Yeah.
right? You can sue for civil damages, and you can also, I think someone can be imprisoned for something like that, right? That's criminal, okay? What it was pointing to you is to get a lawyer. Yeah.
So first step, go and talk to a lawyer.
Get a lawyer here.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so when you speak to a lawyer, right, there are different, what are the civil remedies? The law has been able to give us several ways where we can get our right, like Anton Penal, the seizure, and all those stuff.
Okay.
And then criminal remedies too, you can also go to court and just sue that person to court, right?
Yeah.
But there's nothing that trumps getting the law.
Yeah.
I do think that before you go to that extent, or maybe litigation, okay, because I would normally when it comes to litigation, I don't advise litigation first. You spend years litigating something you find out. Do you understand? Like one of the first things you should know, am I going to actually own this? Like actually create this first.
Yeah.
Do you understand? That's very important to know. And when you get to know that, you try and reach out to the infringer or whoever it is you think, oh, you copy my car, something like that. You need to make sure that, oh, hi, I've talked to you, okay, now, when they don't now put it down, you can now go to litigation. Litigation is like, for me, the last resort, you should have it. And then if it's, then if the animation film is on like Amazon Prime or even maybe on YouTube on Netflix, they have most of these streaming platforms have copyright infringement notices. Okay, yeah. So when you feel that, you notify Amazon Prime that this person uploaded this content on your platform, and the rights to it belong to me, not belong to them. That's basically what happens with that. So so personally for me, discussions like the last, like you've tried all sorts of formal and informal attempts to make sure that this person pulls down his content, or it doesn't necessarily have to be pulling down the content, maybe give you credit
Or pay
their
you.
profits. Profit. That one.
I like that one.
But add to what both of them said, there's one thing that I feel most people in those positions, in that position, need to do first before they try to escalate it. Sit down and watch the entire work. Like, take your time and watch it. Finish watching it and be able to know the extent of the infringement. It could be that you think that, oh, this is just what it is, and you turn out that it's your movie that person just carried in whole and dropped. Then, like he said, reach out to the person. Simultaneously, as you're reaching out to the person, I always advise to also reach out to a lawyer. Do you get? Because the lawyer will be able to advise you whether that use falls under fair use and fair dealing, or whether you actually have the case. And while you're still reaching out to the person, doesn't mean that even if it falls under fair use, you don't have something to still talk to the person about. Because even if it falls under fair use, the person still needs to give you credit for the work. So you can still tell the person, okay, credit has to be given for the work. Then the lawyer at the same time can be advising. While speaking to the person, like you said, you might not be the original creator. You might not know an original person did that, and the person went straight to that person to take permission. You'll be able to get a clearer picture of everything going on and be able to even brief your lawyer better.
If it's under fair use,
Yeah.
you just need your permission. Or if it's, you can just say, well, we are using it for fair use, we don't need to.
If it falls under fair use, you don't need permission, but you must give credit. So you can literally maybe sue the person or hold the person liable for not giving you credit, because that falls under the part of the reasons why you can use it without permission. You need to give the person credit.
If you do litigation for that, you'll still pay you.
Okay, let me add something, right? So getting a lawyer does not mean, okay.
I don't think it works.
Okay.
So getting a lawyer, right, is actually not the same as going to court. So why I said you involve a lawyer first is because the lawyer would advise you, understand, what happened, is this really your work? That is where the lawyer comes in. That's why I give it, it's always easier to have a lawyer as a friend or as or your retainership, do you understand? So it's always, people assume that once you say lawyer, let's fight. So that's what I explained.
Okay, let me ask, in line of this thoughts, does title, like, is just merely using your title, is it a copyright infringement? Let me give you an instance. I have this animation film, I called it the red chair, and it's about a lady that bought a red chair. And my friend here does another animation film about a red chair that got broken and calls it the red chair. And the only thing similar in those stories is just the title. The red chair. Is that any form of copyright?
I don't think so, but if it happens to be, then you know that Nollywood is in trouble. Because we have a lot of similar names and same rows saying. We just keep tweaking it around, but it's still the same name. But I think where it becomes an infringement is if the person trademarks the title. So some people go that far to trademark a title, especially if they know that this particular title they are going to do business with it in the future. Exactly. So if the person has trademarked it, then you using it to be an infringement. But based on copyright on its own, I don't think it's protected.
At what point do you know if something is trademarked before you use it? Do you need to go to any office to find that out?
Yeah, you can decide to do a search on your own if it's important, but that's also why I advise creators to take advantage of IP notice. If you register a trademark, nothing stops you from putting out a notice and informing the public that you've registered this trademark, and that it doesn't stop them from using it. The only thing that when they want to use it, they have to take permission from you, and this is the way they can take the permission. Do you get? But you as a creator trying to find out if a particular trademark exists, you can just run a search on your own, just to be on the safe side.
Please, from your personal experience dealing with clients and all that, I mentioned earlier that most creators are not really so keen on the legal side of things. Would you say how would you judge the legal consciousness of the average Nigerian creator?
Okay, if they're like maybe like on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Probably 5.
Yeah, that's a compliment.
Yeah, because I've gotten some clients that want to know every single detail. I have clients like that. I was like 1 in 20. The remaining 19 just they don't care. Lawyers, contract rating. They just text you the contract rating. I'm like, can you read it? I'm like, no, you're very student. So I still feel like because you still need to know what's contract. You still need to know what's copyright. Even if it's just basically what copyright means and how you could infringe just on your own. It's like the law is not just it's Copyright Act or any law in Nigeria. It's not just for us lawyers.
Yeah.
It's also meant for you might not understand everything, but you should at least have a basic understanding. It could help you even do your business better. You will have a decent conversation with your lawyer and help him understand more what do I want, how do I want this.
Interesting. So, yeah. One last question, which every single one of you will answer briefly, is this. And I will start from phrase. If you were a legislator, what's the one intellectual property law you pass and have it right now?
Like that one that Amanda talked about. Copyright drafts, this 1,000%. It's like it's like there isn't how well to do others. I don't like nothing is moving. Like it's been like this year I had it's in the third reading. Like we need it's because there's no emphasis being placed on copyright and entertainment industry as a whole, like Nigeria. Yeah, because they're in America, they know how much revenue they take from the industry every year. So why they will make something that will make sure those money is protected. But here it's like they don't understand that this industry here is growing fast.
And someone needs to protect.
There has to like it's taking so much time. Like it's unbelievable how bad our laws are in this field. Like it's almost like we are working sometimes on our own, or we are following the laws of the US.
The laws as we do.
That's just how it's like. So
Rita.
Yeah, I believe that there are a lot of laws I'd like to pass. Because firstly, we need to look at the shortcomings of the Copyright Act. So there are a lot of shortcomings that I have noticed personally, even apart from this animation, talking about podcast and the rest, I've noticed a lot of shortcomings. So what I would be talking about is not even, they've not seen it, like they've not even drafted it. Yeah, because now this is 2021 and these are changing like very fast. Because the metaverse is coming in and everything has changed.
That's new some laws too.
And there is nothing like Nigeria versus
never ever reached them.
So everything they say, all if I'm to have that power like you mentioned, then all our intellectual property related laws need an amended and more current versions. Then I think we also need a corporate governance policy for the industry itself as a whole. The creative and entertainment industry has to be the big aspect of it. So we know what we're doing. Like you said, it seems like we're making up things as we go. A lot of things we rely on our industry practice and not laws or any policy that we're following. So it becomes hard. You're now relying on what did I put on paper and pen and sign. So it's more of contract law thing than the creative and entertainment law that we're supposed to be looking at.
Interesting. I wish it's just as easy as he has a question.
Sorry, I have a question. I know we don't have much time
Yes.
because the next session should start. Question is quick. Okay, it's in a very funny way. Sometimes I feel lawyers are important, but sometimes I feel like maybe we are paying too much to have you guys hang around. I had a retainership with a lawyer. I run the animation studio. You know, I had a retainership with the guy, and you know, the guy, the first few days before I signed the contract, the guy was practically always calling me almost every day. You know, and it's like, okay, that it's better I'll just do a 1 year something, so that he knows 1 year I can call him at any time and all that. Then I just realized that if I don't call him, he doesn't care about me. He doesn't even. Do you understand? Then when it is coming to maybe the month, the year is almost over. He now call me, and so and I realized I didn't need him for the 1 year. So my question is, how exactly should a lawyer work? You know, because I feel if I've already paid you 1 year, you should do some work at least. So what is the minimum work that
You should require
no, but it's
it's a very important question.
Yes, because I don't get into trouble, I don't get so I like this guy just collect money. You know, so sometimes I'm sorry to say this, sometimes when we hear sessions like this, we make it look like it's very, very important, you know. But you realize that in your life, you don't even maybe you engage a lawyer like maybe once in a while.
You need
So please, maybe just give us the minimum. Maybe I'm the one that is not expecting from him. Maybe I'm not. Maybe why don't you tell us what's the minimum that you think every month the guy should be doing, and then you can also talk about yourself. How do you work in terms of how do you engage in such retainership stuff? How does it work for you?
First of all, I want to apologize that he didn't call you after I said your previous. Apologize to Olivia that he didn't call you. I think the bare minimum each month of work he should do is just a rundown on what is going on in the studio, what's going on in your company. Do you get? If they're actually, because the truth about it is that sometimes the clients I work with, most of them are the ones updating me, like they're very proficient when it comes to updating me. So I don't even need to go to them and call, oh, what's happening with you at this time? They're the ones telling me, oh, I'm traveling this date, I'm going to be available for this is what we have coming up. While at the same time, I've still met clients that sometimes they just forget that they're supposed to update, and then I still have to be the one to call. So I think it's just probably getting an understanding of that. Probably the way he was working is different from the new circle, but for me, is reaching out to you if I'm not heard from you for almost a month to ask.
Sorry, you know, the funny thing is there was a law that was passed, one creative law or something like that. I was one calling him and telling him about the law. And I was like, really?
Sorry, first question, was he an entertainment lawyer?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, maybe you should clarify that because people don't really know what the difference is. Do they train you guys differently in law school?
No, not okay, let me answer this, right? I think when you, the lawyer you called, it might be that the person is a litigation lawyer, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're a business person, if you have a business, you should be getting a business lawyer. If you're getting the lawyer for just the aspect of that entertainment, you should be getting an entertainment lawyer. Do you understand? You might have just had a contract with someone that, I don't know,
okay, land lawyer to do entertainment business.
Thank you.
Because first of all, you're not going to understand the contract person's giving you at all. Do you get? So it depends on the type of area of law that person specializes. Like you asked, we all trained for one, like for the entire legal practice itself, but we decided that this is the field we're going to be into. So we've taken additional steps to educate ourselves and come to terms with how the creative and entertainment industry works to be able to provide better services to you. So I think second back to the question you asked about the minimum. So I think just to keep up with the company, that's why most times the retainer agreements that I have, I usually state within the agreements that we have monthly meetings. Okay. Do you get? Either last Saturday or first Saturday of the following month, just to get a feel of what is happening. So you might have a production coming up, but you don't know that at development stage you need agreements. And then a person telling you, oh, have you cleared this? How many writers do you have on board? What are you doing? Oh, what is the plan for the next quarter of your company year and all of that?
I'm doing it for me for free because I've paid for it.
It's part of the retainer agreement.
It's part of the retainer that you pay.
You have to pay that. You have to pay that.
No, because we're trying to understand the.
Yeah, it's funny.
You have to pay monthly for it and all of that. That's I feel personally they might have something to add, but personally I feel that's like the bare minimum. With that, you know the work you're expected to put in the next period of time. You'll be able to know what are the plans of the company, like I said, whether they are productions, whether they have particular production they are pushing. Another thing I think I need to clear is that sometimes creators think lawyers are more than lawyers in the industry. Mm-hmm. Do you get? I'm not saying particularly to you, but I've been in such situation, and then they'll be like, "Oh, can you help me shop this movie to put on a licensing platform?" If I'm going to do that, that's from goodness of my heart. It's just a part of the job I'm supposed to do. Do you understand? So that's just something.
Okay.
Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your contributions. Very interesting conversation we've had. Thank you for the audience. Thank you, our lawyers.